Hi everybody, welcome back to my channel. Today I want to talk about a semi-controversial, not totally agreed on topic in the mediumship community, and that is the topic of Earthbound Spirits. So if you've been around my channel for a while, you know that I go and I professionally clear houses for people that are dealing with spirits that are earthbound, and I have a decent amount of experience with this. So I really wanted to dive into this today because there's not a ton of resources out there on information about Earthbound Spirits, and I actually didn't know this when I first started developing my mediumship abilities. I had no idea that Earthbound Spirits were a stigmatized topic within the medium community. There is this huge debate amongst the mediumship community on whether or not Earthbound Spirits even exist. And if they do exist, it must mean that the medium is picking up on residual energy, or they're not picking up on a spirit, is basically what the argument is. The argument is that they're picking up on residual energy because when a person dies, they immediately transition and go to heaven. I don't want anybody to feel fear when they are going to hear what I'm about to say, so this is just my little disclaimer that these cases that I've experienced, I understand that they only make up a very, 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 very small percentage of the amount of people that die every day, and I am aware that it is a very weird thing to talk about. Here's the thing with this, is that when we die, even if you're a medium, you have no idea what happens. You can claim to sort of have an understanding. You can work with your spirit guides to talk to them about it. You can work with spirit to sort of have an idea, but the reality of the situation is no one knows the process that we go through when we die, okay? So even though I do believe that we transition to a different state of being and a different state of energy, which I would call heaven, or, you know, the other side as people call it, I do think that even though spirit is wonderful, beautiful, this omnipresent thing, I do think that there are things that come into play with the actual soul that is transitioning. So what I mean by this is that in the work that I've done, and I'm just solely speaking from my own experiences with this, I have experienced a number of souls that have not transitioned for a couple of different reasons. There is sometimes fear of judgment of if they've committed suicide. They are scared that they're going to go to hell because of religious teachings. There are some spirits that just don't understand the afterlife, and that fear holds them back as well. And there are some people that have a really traumatic death and don't even realize that they've passed. Now, again, I just want to reiterate that this is a small percentage of the millions and millions and millions of people that pass every day. Like, this is a very, very, like, 0.0001% of the population that passes in a day would probably experience this. This is just an estimate of that. I don't want to spread any fear by telling you guys this information. I just think that in the mediumship community, we have this belief that we know without a doubt what happens when we die, and I don't think that anybody truly knows what happens when we die except for spirit or God or whatever you want to call that higher source, okay? So my issue is that when Earthbound spirits get brought up and you're talking to a reputable medium, and I've come across multiple people that have felt this way. It's not just one person, it is many mediums in this community. They will claim that it is residual energy in the location. They will claim that that cannot happen. They will claim, you know, X, Y, and Z, but not give a follow-up explanation as to why they believe that. And sometimes they claim that spirit has told them that you transition immediately. And just from my experiences and from talking to other people that have experienced Earthbound spirits, I know this to be not true. So in this, I understand that the mediums in the community are just trying to quell the fear that surrounds death by claiming that they know exactly what happens when we die. But I don't believe that we as humans are meant to know what happens when we die. I think that we have compiled experiences and through our work with different spirits and through spirit and, connecting with people that are passed in heaven, we gain some understanding of what does happen when we die. I do believe that, but to say that we know the ins and outs of everything and that the transition from life to death is perfect 100% of the time, I just don't agree with that. And that is based solely on the spirits that I have interacted with that are earthbound. So the differences between earthbound spirits and spirits that are in heaven also kind of come into play with this. So if you experience an earthbound spirit, there are going to be a couple of things that happen, okay, that make this not equal to residual energy. Residual energy in a space is energy that plays on a loop. It can be a moment in time that's ingrained in a space. It can be, a repetitive thing that somebody did every day. If you hear footsteps, it could be residual energy from the person that was living in the house, walking down the steps every day, or if they had a nightly routine of going through the cupboards, you might hear that after they've left the space, but that does not necessarily mean there's a haunting, okay? When there is a ghost or an earthbound spirit present, a couple of things will happen, especially if you are able to communicate with them. So residual energy cannot give an intelligent response back. That is one thing that I have learned. It will just play on a loop and you can watch it, and that's how that goes. Earthbound spirits, though, are people, okay? They're people on a plane that is just slightly closer to the earth plane, but not quite heaven, okay? So if you were to think about it in terms of a building, if we were on the ground floor outside of an apartment building, being able to communicate with an earthbound spirit is just like trying to talk to somebody that's on the first floor of the apartment building while we're on the ground floor. When you're communicating with somebody that is passed in heaven, it's a completely different energy because you are trying to raise your vibration up to a level that's closer to heaven or the other side or whatever you want to call it, and they are attempting to lower theirs slightly. So mediums have to work really hard to raise their vibration up to be able to communicate with those that have crossed over. Something that I've also noticed is that it's completely different from communicating with those in heaven because it's more of a stream of consciousness. You don't have to work to get the information from the spirit. They are just going to talk to you and you're just going to hear it clairaudiently and it's going to flow, or they're going to show you pictures and it's just going to flow. But usually there is an easier time getting that information from them because they're closer to us on that closer level. So then when we're talking about spirits that are in heaven, the difference that I've noticed is that you have to work so much harder. Let me do this. You have to work so much harder to get to this level up here that when you do this, it takes so much more energy. You can go into more of like a channeling state or a trance state when you do this, just so you can get to that place where you're really using your upper chakras and you're really connecting and you're really engaging your solar plexus and everything. And it takes way more energy for people to communicate with those that are in heaven because of the difference in the planes of existence that we're dealing with, okay? So again, on Earth, we are closer to the earthbound spirits because it's more like just a thin veil that separates us, okay? As opposed to floors that separate us between the people that are in heaven. Have I touched on everything? I feel like I'm ranting. I'm so sorry. This is definitely a topic that I feel really strongly about because I was actually in a class with this medium from the UK. Amazing guy. He is absolutely incredible. But a student asked about an experience with an earthbound spirit that she had encountered, and she was describing everything that I said, where it was just a flow of consciousness, all of this stuff. And he kind of shut her down, honestly, because he said that that just can't happen. But if this student is experiencing this and she's experiencing these spirits coming to her and she's hearing all of this information and she's not having to try and she notices the difference between the heaven and the earthbound spirit connection, why are we invalidating that? 99% of the communication and the information that you get should be accurate. If you have some way to validate this later on, which I was able to validate this in the, I'll link it up above, in the mediumship story where I went to clear the house in Indianapolis. Every piece of information that I got from this man that had died and was still earthbound came true and was accurate, and validating that later, it was 99% accurate to what the information was that I received. So you need to be at least 99 to 100% accurate for this to be an earthbound spirit communication that is real, okay? Obviously there are things that can get in the way, like your own mind, your own imagination that can play tricks on you, but if you are truly able to connect with spirit and you're able to connect with those that have passed on the other side as well, you should notice the difference as a flow of consciousness, a flow of information, as opposed to, you know, trying to raise your vibration up to the level that these spirits are in heaven, and then communicating with them through them giving you symbols or hearing little words or seeing movies playing. It's still going to be quick information, but I've noticed that clairaudiently, the information just flows a lot easier when you're communicating with earthbound spirits because they are on a closer plane of existence, okay? So when you are encountering an earthbound spirit, you just have to go through that checklist to see, you know, one, is it residual energy? Because it could be. It could be somebody's imprint that they've left in the house. Two, is it a flow of consciousness? Am I having to work really hard to get this information? Because you shouldn't have to work really hard to get the info unless you're super stressed or super tired or something. Like, you should be able to just connect and have them talk to you. The third thing is, you know, if you are experiencing this, the information has to be accurate, because if this is really happening and you're really hearing them that clearly, then you have to be receiving accurate information for this to be legit. Like, you can't just be making stuff up in your mind and like be like, oh yeah, that's an earthbound spirit, they told me this, this, and this, and then have it be wrong. That means there's something wrong with the connection. It could be residual energy, or it could be your own stuff that's kind of getting in the way of connecting. So that is pretty much the video. I know that this is a little bit controversial, but I wanted to make a video about it because based on my experiences with mediums in this community, it's like we have stigmatized within our own stigmatized community. We've further stigmatized ourselves and started to stigmatize these topics that we should be talking about, because the reality of the situation is we don't know what happens. We can theorize what's going to happen when we die, and we can hypothesize based on working with spirit and understanding, you know, how souls transition, but I don't think anybody should claim to know everything about a topic that death is strange, and we're never gonna know everything about death. And that is all I'm saying. This is not meant to spread fear by any means. Again, it's like 0.001% of, maybe even less than that. It's probably half of that. It's 0.00001% or something of the people in the population will experience this. But that is not to say that if someone you know has suffered a traumatic death, that they're going to be earthbound. That is not what I'm saying at all. There are many factors that we just don't know about that can cause this to happen. And I think the problem is, in this community, we have a hard time admitting that we don't know everything, because then it shows that we have a crack in our armor when we're already this really scrutinized community. So I just want to come out and be the one to say, you know, we can theorize and we do have a good grasp on what happens after death. And I hope that does bring comfort to a lot of you. But even if we knew 98 to 99% of what happens when we die, there's still that 1% of wiggle room where we're just not gonna know until we die. We aren't going to know everything about death. So, all right, thank you guys for watching. I will be posting more videos soon, hopefully. Thank you for your patience. This coronavirus thing has been draining me super hard. So I'm trying to get my energy right so I can get some more videos up for you all. But if you like this video, let me know if you've had an experience with an earthbound spirit and if it felt different to you than working with a spirit based in heaven. It's fun to start a little convo in the comment section down below. So, all right, thanks so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video.